Hi guys, I'm going to talk about critical fasteners today. Alright, part of what you get when you get a Harley is you get a bike that vibrates a lot more than Jap bikes. It's cool, but with that comes fasteners and screws and bolts. Well, screws and bolts are fasteners that shake loose. And you want to make sure the critical fasteners, being the fasteners that you need to perform in order to ride your motorcycle safely, are always fastened to the correct torque. So you can do this every 5,000 miles or so, I would recommend, and it's pretty easy to do. First, I'm going to talk about a torque wrench. You need the torque wrench to make sure your critical fasteners are tightened to the correct torque. This is a torque wrench I got. It's a needle style torque wrench. It's a Craftsman. I got it at Sears. I got this for two reasons. One, it's 30 bucks when most of them are starting at 50 bucks and they go up to $250. But because this one is so simple, it's a lot cheaper. It doesn't mean it's inferior. It's just different. The second reason I got this is because it never needs to be calibrated. I don't know how to calibrate the other torque wrenches, and this one doesn't. Well, if it ever needs to be calibrated, it's very simple. I'm going to show you. Okay, it has two scales here: foot-pounds and Newton meters. All right, you can measure your torque on either scale. All right, and the needle starts off at 0, and then when you're twisting, the needle will move accordingly to the amount of torque being applied to that fastener. If for some reason this needle ever goes off 0, all you have to do is come to the top and push it back to 0. Okay? So if for some reason it ever goes like this, you just come this way and push it back to 0. Alright, mine comes with a 1/2-inch driver. Alright, but when you're fastening the screws, when you're securing the fasteners on your bike, not all of the sockets that you use are going to be driven by 1/2 inch, probably. So I also bought this adapter kit. Alright, and this will basically turn your 1/2-inch driver into whatever you need. Alright, so the second thing I recommend getting, and this is where I get my information from, is the service manual. This service manual and the specs that I'm going to talk about are for the 2007 Sportster, be it a Nightster or any other version of the Sportster. This should apply to your bike using the 2007 Harley-Davidson service manual. Alright, so first we'll talk about hand controls. Alright, you want to fasten the upper and lower switch housing screws, the clutch lever handlebar clamp screws, and the master cylinder handlebar clamp screws. Simple enough. First we'll talk about upper and lower switch housing screws. Okay? This is your switch housing for the left hand side. You see the switches there. And then the switch housing for the right hand side. What you're going to do is you're going to use a T25 torque wrench to tighten these bolts, and it's the same for both sides. Okay, you have the top basically torque screw there, and you have the bottom one right underneath. My camera is being crappy today, but here is the turn signal, and then the screw is right under there. Okay, same for the other side. You have the top one right here, and then right underneath it, the bottom one. Okay, you can use again a T25 size driver to fasten those, and then for the clutch lever handlebar clamp screws and the master cylinder handlebar clamp screws, those will be tightened to 132 inch-pounds, or basically 15 Newton meters. Again, the same thing for both sides. This is the clutch clamp. Okay, torques, and then on this side, here and here. So this is the master cylinder clamp and the clutch clamp. For that one, you're going to use a T27. Alright, that's it for hand controls. Next, we're going to go to brakes. The brake line banjo bolts are the first thing for brakes. You're going to want to fasten those to 25 foot-pounds. There are 2 for the front brake and 1 for the back. Simple stuff, guys. Here's a banjo bolt right here. This is your banjo right here. Alright, so the front banjo bolt come all the way down here to the front brake caliper, and the second banjo bolt is right there. Again, here's your banjo, and here's the bolt. Okay? Then we'll come to the back of the bike, and the rear banjo bolt is right there. Boom. Okay? Second for brakes is for laced wheels. I don't have cast wheels, I have laced wheels. You're going to want to fasten your laced wheels to 24 foot-pounds. And when I say laced wheels, I'm talking about the front brake disc mounting screws for laced wheels. So here's your front disc, alright, and then here are the mounting screws. You have 5 of those. If you have your bike up on a stand, it's easier to freely rotate your wheel. But if you have it on the ground, unless you have some way to lock it up on the stand, if someone holds the brake for you or something, then you can freely move that and do all those screws. Okay, and then the rear, easy stuff. Here's the rear brake disc, and here are the screws that mount the disc on there. Alright, so the rear brake dismounting screws you're going to tighten to, the rear brake dismounting screws you'll tighten to 45 foot-pounds. Front master cylinder reservoir cover screws, 2 Newton meters. Here's your master cylinder for the front. Here are the 2 screws, 2 Newton meters, basically hand tight. 2 Newton meters is very small on the scale, almost undiscernible from 0. And as you can see, I kind of stripped mine, so just do it hand tight, that'll be fine. And then rear master cylinder mounting screws, 15 to 20 foot-pounds. Rear master cylinder bracket to frame mounting screws, 22 foot-pounds. So I haven't found the, here's the rear master cylinder. I haven't found any screws for this other than you move this cover to the side. There's the bracket to frame thing that you're going to tighten. Alright, other than that, it's a filler cap that you just unscrew, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But again, the bracket to frame mounting screws for the rear master cylinder is 22 foot-pounds. And then front brake caliper mounting bolts, 38 foot-pounds. Alright, here's your front brake caliper. And here are the mounting bolts, 1, 2, because